Hello there you guys, welcome to one of my videos. Recently, Ralph Rangnick did his second part of the press conference ahead of Manchester United's game against Burnley at Turf Moor. So some of the things he said the club are improving on the pitch despite the shock FA Cup exit to Middlesbrough. Rangnick also said if Manchester United have not won a title in the last 10 years, there are some good reasons for that. And he also said right now we are fourth. He said everybody inside the club, including myself, would be happy to finish fourth at the end of the season. And Rangnick's also mentioned that Manchester United can compete for the title next season. So there are quite a few of the things he mentioned in the second part of his press conference. Rangnick has managed 11 games so far as Manchester United's interim manager. He's lost 2 games so far. Rangnick has been Manchester United's interim manager for 2 months. He's Manchester United's interim manager until the end of the season, then he's expected to take up a consultancy role for a further 2 years. I'm very sceptical that Rangnick will get the job on a permanent basis, but revert back to a few weeks ago, he said that Manchester United put their search for a new manager on hold after being impressed by Ralph Rangnick since he took charge in December, and it did say we could offer Rangnick the job on a permanent basis. There's been good performances under Ralph Rangnick, there's also been poor performances as well, but I've got to say he's been blameless for them poor performances. You know, the players have to take responsibility for that. The other day, it said that Rangnick is facing a fresh dressing room revolt with his Manchester United players, because obviously our players are unhappy with Ralph Rangnick, with his treatment of Jesse Lingard. Revert back to earlier on this season, it said that Rangnick was already losing the dressing room, and it did mention that 17 Manchester United players were unhappy and wanted to leave. Before Manchester United, Rangnick was the head of sports and development at Lokomotiv Moscow. To his credit, he has made changes since he got recommended in. Earlier on this season, he brought Ewan Sharp in as an assistant coach and analyst. He also brought Chris Armas in as an assistant coach, and he brought Saz Chalens in as a sports psychologist. Now, Erik ten Hag to Manchester United is on. A Dutch reporter claims Erik ten Hag will leave Ajax at the end of the season. Mark Overmars recently left Ajax, and that upset Erik ten Hag. So reflecting on this, Manchester United have received a boost. Earlier on this season, Rangnick said that he wanted Erik ten Hag to be the new Man United manager in the summer. And Manchester United fans want Erik ten Hag to take the Old Trafford job instead of Mauricio Pochettino. I think if Erik ten Hag came to manage in the Premier League, he'd replicate what he's done at Ajax, because you've got to admire what he's done at Ajax. He's developed the young players well. He's won a couple of titles with them. Revert back to 2019, he got Ajax to the Champions League semi-finals. So there you go, and he's been Ajax manager for over 4 years. He got appointed in as the Ajax manager back in 2017. His contract at Ajax expires next year. Ajax is the 4th club he's managing in his managerial career. Before Ajax he managed Utrecht, before then he managed Bayern Munich's reserves, and before then he managed Go Ahead Eagles. There's still a lot of reports coming out regarding Mauricio Pochettino. Now, the other day, like he updated you, it said Manchester United consider swapping Cristiano Ronaldo for PSG boss Mauricio Pochettino. It said that Mauricio Pochettino is Manchester United's #1 choice to become the club's next manager. Pochettino's reportedly told his friends he will be leaving PSG in the summer. Reports from France said the other week that Pochettino could be sacked by March. Pochettino's job hinges on PSG getting to the next round of the Champions League. PSG play Real Madrid in the last 16 of the Champions League. The other week, PSG got knocked out of the French Cup by Nice. And that put more pressure on Pochettino. PSG are trying to get Zidane to replace Pochettino. Pochettino's contract at PSG expires next year. He's been in charge of PSG for over a year. I think he's won a French Cup with them. He's a good manager, Pochettino, even though he's hardly won anything. I reckon if Man United appointed him in, he'd do a really good job at Man United. I reckon he'd suit the strappings of the club, and he'd get the best out of these group of players. He's well proven in the Premier League, which is beneficial, because before Pochettino endured a 5.5-year managerial tenure at Tottenham. Back in 2018, he got Tottenham to their first ever Champions League final. And at one point, he almost won the league when he was Tottenham manager. I reckon Tottenham made a bad mistake sacking him. Before Tottenham managed Southampton, he only enjoyed a short managerial tenure with them, but he still managed to guide Southampton to their highest ever finish in the Premier League. So they're the clubs he's managed in the Premier League so far, and before Southampton he managed Espanyol. Revert back to when Man United sacked Jose Mourinho. Manchester United should have got Pochettino then, but the club decided to go with Solskjaer instead. Manchester United are looking for the 5th permanent manager since Ferguson, because Manchester United have sacked 4 permanent managers since Ferguson. You know, we sacked David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, and of course last year Manchester United sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Like I've said, Manchester United endured a very poor January transfer window because Manchester United did not make any signings last month. And Man United wanted to sign a midfielder because when Ralph Rangnick first came in, he identified Manchester United's midfield as a weakness. Lingard and Henderson should have left last month, but they didn't because Manchester United blocked their exits. We had the incident with Mason Greenwood as well towards the end of last month. We did loan quite a few players out though last month. We loaned Donny van der Beek out to Everton. We loaned Martial out to Sevilla. We loaned Amad Diallo out to Rangers. We loaned Tiedemann Menge out to Birmingham. Tuan Zabi went out on loan to Napoli. I think Ethan Laird went out on loan. So we let around 8 players leave last month. Rangnick has endured one transfer window as Manchester United's interim manager. Not so long ago as well, Ed Woodward stepped down. That was very good news from a Manchester United perspective because Woodward was one of the biggest issues at the club for a long time. Ed Woodward was Manchester United's vice chairman for 17 years. Richard Arnold replaced Ed Woodward as the new chief executive. The Glazers, they've owned Manchester United for around 16 and a half years. They've been one of the biggest issues at the club for a long time. We've got to get the Glazers out. The Glazers bought Manchester United for 500 million back in 2005. Don't forget, revert back to April of last year, Manchester United fans protested against the Glazers at the Carrington training ground and at Old Trafford because the Glazers were planning to scrap the Champions League for that European Super League. But in the end, the Glazers apologised. Well, that's what Solskjaer mentioned at the time. In the summer, I'm expecting Manchester United to make signings. On the other side of things, I'm also expecting a lot of players to depart the club in the summer. So the players I think who are going to leave in the summer, so I think Dean Henderson will leave. Like I mentioned, Dean Henderson should have left last month, but Manchester United blocked his exit. Henderson's our second choice goalkeeper. Henderson doesn't really get in goal because revert back to last summer, De Gea reclaimed that number 1 spot back. Henderson was in goal for the game against Middlesbrough in the Cup recently. Didn't have too much to do. He had a couple of saves to make to deny Matt Crooks in the second half, and he made a good save to deny Aaron Connolly from close range in extra time. It was only his third appearance of the season. Earlier on this season, Henderson had COVID for a while. Revert back towards the end of last season though, Henderson got that number 1 jersey and he did well in a lot of the games he was in goal for last season. Henderson's got that experience behind him because before he endured 2 successful loans with Sheffield, he's also had other loan spells before with Stockport, Grimsby and Shrewsbury. Henderson is under contract with Man United until 2025. There's an option of a further year. I think he signed that new long-term contract before the start of last season. Phil Jones, he'll also leave the club in the summer. Jones doesn't really get in our team, does he? Jones did recently come on in the game against Middlesbrough. He played in the 1-0 defeat to Wolves at Old Trafford earlier on in the season. That's because Maguire picked up an injury. Jones was our best performer in the home game against Wolves, and that was his first Premier League appearance since January 2020. At one point, Jones was out with a knee injury for a while. I was disappointed that Jones didn't leave last month. Don't forget, Romano said on deadline day that Jones had rejected a loan move to Bordeaux, but Man United and Bordeaux had actually reached an agreement for Phil Jones to go out on loan in order to get more playing time, and even at the time, reports from France said that Phil Jones' talks were at final stages. But Rangnick said he was happy for Jones to stay. This season has been Jones' 11th season at Man United, so reflecting on that, he's been a long-serving player. We brought him in under the Sir Alex Ferguson era, got him from Blackburn. His contract at Manchester United expires next year. Eric Bailly, I reckon he'll leave the club in the summer. Bailly doesn't really get in the team. Bailly lost his place in the team a while ago, obviously with Man United signing Varane last summer, and for some reason Victor Lindelof has been preferred to Bailly. Don't ask me why, because Bailly is a far superior centre-half to Lindelof. Bailly's recently picked up an injury. He is injury prone, which is a concern. He was at the African Cup of Nations not too long ago. The last game Bailly played for Man United was the 3-1 win against Burnley in the final game of last year, but he came off injured in that one. Revert back to the early stages of last month, Damasio came out and said that Bailly agreed to join AC Milan on loan, and it mentioned that Bailly was extremely interested in a move to Italy. Revert back to April last year, Bailly signed a contract with Man United until 2024. Man United got Bailly from Villarreal back in 2016. Manchester United paid 30 million. Bailly's been at the club for over 5 years now. Tellez, do you think he could leave in the summer? I hope Tellez doesn't leave in the summer, because to be fair, Tellez has been impressive under Rangnick, and he is our first choice left back under Rangnick. Tellez obviously missed the game against Middlesbrough because Tellez has got COVID. So obviously went with Luke Shaw ahead of Tellez against Middlesbrough. I reckon Man United will look to sell Harry Maguire and Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the summer. Well, that's what reports from Spain said a few weeks ago. We need to offload that duo because they're not good enough to represent the club. I reckon Man United will offload Matic in the summer. He's out of contract at Manchester United in the summer, is Matic. Matic isn't one of our first choice midfielders, but despite that, he still seems to get his opportunities. Matic is the only predominant centre defensive midfielder Man United have got at the moment. I've always had my reservations about Matic because he's always been a static midfielder, plus he's ageing up, but despite that he has had his good games. Matic has been at the club for over 4 years. Manchester United got him from Chelsea back in 2017. We got him for around £40 million. I reckon Pogba will leave in the summer if Rangnick doesn't get the job on a permanent basis. But like I updated you the other week, it did say on the other side of things that Pogba is willing to stay at Man United as long as Ralph Rangnick is the manager for next season, because Pogba has been impressed by Ralph Rangnick since his arrival, and it did mention that Pogba would be open to signing a new contract. Pogba's out of contract at Manchester United in the summer. A couple of months ago, the Sun said that Man United apparently offered Pogba a new £500,000 a week contract that would have made Pogba the highest paid player in Premier League history, but he actually came out and denied that he'd been offered that contract. Pogba recently played in the cup game against Middlesbrough. To be fair, he played well. You know, his movement was good, he got in some good positions, he obviously won the penalty in normal time. It was Pogba's first appearance in 3 months against Middlesbrough because he was out with injury for a while. Well, Pogba's endured a few injuries since he re-signed for the club, so you can say he's injury prone. This season has been Pogba's 6th season at Manchester United since he re-signed. You know, won 3 trophies at the club so far, played over 200 games since he re-signed. Manchester United paid £89 million for Pogba, so reflecting on that, is our most expensive signing at the moment. We had him when he was a lot younger under the Ferguson era, but had to let him go due to limited appearances. Jesse Lingard, Manchester United will also offload him in the summer. Like I mentioned earlier on in the video, he should have left last month. but Man United blocked his exit. It were Newcastle and West Ham that were battling it out to get Lingard on loan last month. But on deadline day, Man United told Lingard he wasn't allowed to leave the club last month. But Lingard told Rangnick in a face-to-face meeting that he wanted to leave the club. And don't forget, after the Middlesbrough defeat in the Cup, Rangnick did say that he wanted Lingard in the Man United squad. But before then, Rangnick said Lingard had asked for time off. But then obviously Lingard hit back at Rangnick and denied this. Lingard said the club advised me to have time off due to personal reasons, and Lingard said my headspace was clear. Lingard is out of contract at Manchester United in the summer. He has been part of the club for a long time, but he doesn't get in the team, does he? And the second half of last season, he enjoyed a 4-month loan spell with West Ham, and he made an impact. I reckon Juan Mata will leave the club in the summer as well. If Manchester United fail to qualify for the Champions League, Cristiano Ronaldo will leave in the summer. Ronaldo is unhappy at Man United. And Edinson Cavani, he'll leave in the summer because earlier on this season, Rangnick revealed that Edinson Cavani wants to stay at Man United until the end of the season. He's out of contract in the summer. The other week it said River Plate are considering a transfer for Cavani in the summer to replace Julian Alvarez. So there you go. Manchester United do play Burnley tonight at Turf Moor. It is an 8 o'clock kick-off. I'm expecting Manchester United to beat Burnley because Burnley are enduring a very poor season. Burnley are bottom of the Premier League at the moment. Burnley recently drew 0-0 with Watford. If Burnley get relegated this season, I think there's a very good chance that Burnley will sack Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche has been Burnley manager for around a decade, so reflecting on that, Sean Dyche has been a very long-serving manager. Burnley appointed Sean Dyche in back in 2012. He's got a contract with Burnley until 2025. Before Burnley, he managed Watford. Like I said on the preview, I do know a lot of the players that Burnley have. They've got Wout Weghorst. Burnley signed Wout Weghorst last month from Wolfsburg. Burnley paid $12 million and he signed a 3.5-year deal with Burnley. He recently made his Burnley debut. Obviously, Wout Weghorst is the replacement for Chris Wood because Chris Wood left Burnley last month to join Newcastle. Burnley also have Match Vydra. Vydra has got hernia, so he's out for a few weeks. They've got Ashley Barnes. He had an injury the other week. He's sustained a few injuries as a Burnley player. They also have Jay Rodriguez. They also have Aaron Lennon. Don't forget, Aaron Lennon is a former Everton, Tottenham and Leeds player. Dwight McNeil, they've got him. They also have Connor Roberts. Connor Roberts had COVID earlier on this season. They have Josh Brownhill. Josh Brownhill didn't play any part in Burnley's 0-0 draw with Watford because he was suspended. They got Ashley Westwood, Jack Cork, Goodmanson. Goodmanson's been out with injury. Dale Stephens. Burnley signed Dale Stephens from Brighton. Dale Stephens had COVID earlier on this season. They got Eric Peters, Charlie Taylor. Charlie Taylor's been out with a foot injury. They have Phil Bardsley. I think Phil Bardsley's a former Sunderland player. James Tarkowski, he's a very good centre-half. Ben Mee's quite good. They have Matthew Lawton. And the goalkeepers Burnley have got, they've got Wayne Hennessy, who they got from Crystal Palace. They got Will Norris and Nick Pope. The last time Manchester United lost to Burnley at Turf Moor was back in 2009. It was 1-0 to Burnley. Robbie Blake scored a screamer. Man United won this fixture at Turf Moor last season 1-0. And Man United beat Burnley at Old Trafford 3-1 in the league in the final game of last year. But yeah, Man United have won the last 2 league games, like Rangnick mentioned. You know, before the international break, Man United beat West Ham 1-0 thanks to a 93rd minute goal by Rashford, and before then we beat Brentford 3-1. But we were very poor in the first half in the Brentford game. But Man United are coming into this game against Burnley, having been knocked out of the FA Cup 4th round by Middlesbrough. You know, it was 8-7 to Middlesbrough on penalties. Anthony Elanga missed a decisive penalty, and reflecting on that, Anthony Elanga got racially abused on social media. I totally disagreed with that. Yeah, he might have cost us in the game against Middlesbrough, but I think he's done really well since he got into the first team, and I've mentioned so many times he looks a good asset for the first team squad. It was 1-1 after extra time against Middlesbrough in the Cup. But we should have beat Middlesbrough. You know, look at how many chances Man United had in the game, especially in that first half, and that's what Rangnick pinpointed out. We had a total of, 30 shots in the game. We should be into the 5th round anyway, because the Middlesbrough goal shouldn't have stood, because it was a handball by Duncan Watmore. So Middlesbrough's equaliser was controversial. And let me put into the equation as well, Rashford had a disallowed goal against Middlesbrough, and Ronaldo missed a penalty, and you know, Fernandes and that hit the post, Sancho hit the crossbar in the first 90 seconds. So we should have put the game to bed in that first half. And obviously, you know the news regarding Mason Greenwood, don't you? Like I mentioned yesterday night, Mason Greenwood was dropped by Nike after rape allegation. Last week, Mason Greenwood was released on bail after his arrest. Greenwood's been arrested twice on the suspicion of sexual assault, making threats to kill, rape and assault. And Greenwood is banned from England and Manchester United, so he can't train or play any matches. And not so long ago, Man United fans burned their Mason Greenwood shirts. And the other week, Greenwood was officially removed from FIFA 22. But like I say, it's disgraceful what Mason Greenwood has done. I've got to say his career at Manchester United is officially over, and his England career is officially over. He's only the age of 20. Greenwood joined Manchester United's academy at the age of 6. He made his senior debut for Man United back in 2019. Since then, he's gone to make 129 appearances. He's scored over 30 goals, and last season signed a new 4-year contract. Bruno Fernandes, he recently picked up a knock, but he's expected to be available for this game tonight. I think Cavani and Lingard are back as well. Rangnick mentioned that in his press conference. Tellez and Fred won't be playing any part tonight because they recently tested positive for COVID. Lindelof's obviously been out due to personal reasons. If you do remember rightly, earlier on in the season, his house got robbed. Sancho recently picked up some kind of muscle problem, but he should be available for this game against Burnley. Sancho deserves another chance because he actually played very well against Middlesbrough in the Cup. He scored against Middlesbrough, did Sancho. That was his first Old Trafford goal, and he scored on his FA Cup debut. So there you go. And then Saturday, Manchester United play Southampton. So anyway guys, that's everything to update you with. Drop your comments, likes below on the channel if you do consider subscribe as always, and take care. God bless. See you all again very soon.